Hey everybody, welcome to the Riffhard podcast. Have I ever told you how much I love the band Hypocrisy? Well, if not, just know I love the band Hypocrisy. Like the opening to The Arrival, I think might be one of the things that influenced my layered guitar style, maybe more than almost anything else from the Swedish metal scene. So when I say that Peter Tägtgren is my guest on this episode of the podcast, that's a very good thing for me. I mean, it's his second time coming on one of my podcasts, but we're speaking to one of my heroes. What I really, really admire about him and why I relate to him is because he has always done lots of things. He's got Hypocrisy. He's a legendary producer. I mean, if you look at his discography, it has lots of the most important bands in extreme music, especially in the 90s. And then he's got his band Pain, who just released a new album called I Am, which you should check out. And I'll shut up now. Here goes. Well, welcome to the Riffhard podcast. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Just been actually relaxing all day. Just planning things in your head, like as what you're going to bring on tour, what kind of lamps, where are they going to be, how are they going to program, and blah, 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 blah. Shit like that they have time for nowadays, since all music is done and things like that. And you're just waiting for the first festival that comes up so you can go out. And yeah, that's about it. Plus doing shitloads of interviews, of course, since the album is about to coming out.
Yeah, when you're done writing, when you finish an album, do you like not write for a while after that? Do you go into kind of a dormant creative mode?
I started actually when I was done. I started a little bit on a Hypocrisy song and a Pain song as well. So when I have time and don't feel stressed, then it just comes, like all of a sudden, and then I go in and I'll nail it down and listen to it and try to develop it. So
do you when you're writing, since you have so many different things going on at the same time, like when say you're writing for Hypocrisy or for Pain or for anything else you do, do you focus on just one thing at a time creatively, or whatever happens and then you decide where it goes?
Yeah, no, if I are writing for Hypocrisy, for example, then I will usually just keep on going in that mindset, and sometimes something else pops up that would probably be better with Pain. So then I'll just pause what I do and jump over to Pain files and start creating on that a little bit, and then jump back. Sometimes it goes the whole album through without jumping in between any band of the bands, So it's depends what kind of state of mind you're in, I guess.
I find it difficult to switch context. Once I'm like in a headspace, in that headspace, and it's very hard to do anything but that thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's 24 hours in a day, so plenty of shit to do. I mean, you could just, that's what I try to do. But, later years, I don't go as brutal as I did in the past. Nowadays I try to stay away a couple of days from not doing anything, and then come back, and then usually I have an idea and start working on it, whatever, if it's Pain or Hypocrisy.
Sounds though like even when you're not working on music, like brain's always working on something, like you said, today.
There's always something, you have to be a part of deciding about like merchandise and stuff like that as well, and also be part of checking festivals, yes, no, things like that. What can you do? What can you bring? And So it constantly goes anyhow, it's not just, I mean, going up on stage and play, that's luxury. Everything around it, it's really a lot of thinking.
Yeah, it never really ends.
Now,
Do you look forward to the live aspect?
yeah, I do. We haven't played since, when was that? I think it was like mid-December. Chile was the last one, I think. Or was it Colombia? I can't remember. Anyhow, so we haven't played since that. And I haven't touched the guitars. Yeah, well, I did when I was writing, actually. But yeah, so we need to start to warm up our engines again. Because
That's actually
festival season hits in.
That's actually where I was going with this. I was curious.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed, also, so many people I know have said this, that once they started getting serious about studio stuff, their guitar playing started to get less serious. And then also the people I know who are like the most prolific writers, or like the main writers in their bands, usually, not always, but usually they're not like the virtuoso in the band. Like, they play in order to be able to, they play enough to be able to play their songs well, but they're not probably going to sit there for 12 hours a day trying to master the guitar. And so if you also add engineering into that, that's a lot of things that distract from pure guitar playing. So what I'm curious about is, how do you find the time, or like, what do you do in order to keep up? Because, the Hypocrisy stuff, like, you have to be able to keep up with that. That's not just that's not easy.
Well, you gotta keep the jerk hand alive, but I never was, like a solo shredder or anything like that. And the only time I was serious of practicing was probably when I started playing drums at 9 or 8 or 9 years old. I was going crazy and I practiced like hell. But the more you start to get serious with friends in the garage and playing, you have to show them the songs that you had in your mind. So I always had an acoustic guitar beside me, and try to figure out what I was trying to tell them and to play. And then, okay, they figure it out, you put down, and they go 1, 2, 3. After a while, it was so annoying, so I just jumped up and we got a second guitarist, and then we found a drummer instead. So I only see myself as a songwriter. So I only need to be as good as what you hear. Put it that way. But I do really want to be tight on picking and things like that. I really must say I'm really picky about that, that everything is tight and neat, and also, not hitting the wrong strings. You always have to, dampen stuff like that. You have to figure out how to do that to make the toughest stuff in there, and everybody has to do the same thing. And yeah, it's a lot of work. And then when you're on stage, it's great. I mean, I have the best band right now with me. So
that helps. So do you sit down and work on things like the proper muting, and like down picking and like all that stuff, or is it just within the context of the songs you're playing for the set list?
Yeah, it's mostly the songs itself. There's some picking, like on Monkey Business, for example. It's not so fast now, but if you're cold and stiff, it's gonna hurt when you start with that song on a concert, or Call Me. That's also a little bit of some chugging and stuff, but you just warm up before, and eat a banana 1 hour before. Actually comes from Eyal, our guitarist in Hypocrisy. He says, because then you don't it doesn't freeze on you so easy. You know, if you get stiff, you know, you get all the, what's it called in English? You know,
Is
when it
it
starts
from the
burning when you're picking. You
Yeah,
know?
cramps.
Yeah, you
Banana
get
man,
cramps and
I
stuff.
hate bananas. There's okay, so two foods. I hate
Yeah,
them
well,
so
something
much.
that's similar to that. I mean, they lift stuff and shit, you know. So he knows about these muscle cramps. So
I wonder if just electrolytes, like an electrolyte fluid, would help with that.
could be.
Probably.
But I'll do that. I have it as a routine. When I change clothes, for stage clothes, I just try to eat the banana at the same time. Also walk around with the guitar and, you know, just chug, picking fast, you know, and yeah, to avoid getting cramp on stage. Even slow
So it sounds
songs
like
can cramp you up sometimes if you're too cold.
so it sounds like it's like also not just getting your arms warm, but like like your whole body kind of warmth, like almost like getting your cardio up.
Yeah, I mean, I try to stretch, you know, to reach down to your toes and stuff and, you know, move around a little bit, you know, neck. It doesn't just go and you get stuck. That would suck. But
Man, the first time, so back in the day, the first time that we toured with bands that were older than us was, I guess that was on Ozfest, and like there were, you know, there's all kinds of bands on that, but like I remember there was like a group of bands that were like 10, 15 years older than us, and they all, every single one had neck and back problems. And at that age, they were like going on to 40, 45. You know, we were like 25 to 30. So we were only starting to experience pain, no pun intended. But I noticed that every single one of these veterans had like fucked up backs, fucked up necks, fucked up elbows, fucked up shoulders, fucked up knees, and all from metal, like 100% from headbanging for years and like sleeping in crazy places and the whole thing. And lots of these dudes are like in really good shape too, like athletes and worked out and all that, but still, man, they're just fucked up from the headbanging. So how have you been able to avoid the injuries?
I gotta say, so far so good. I actually think I do even more today than I did 20 years ago. I mean, more energy, and a lot more moving around, and, you know, not try to stand in one place and play and look at your guitar. So you know, when you're on stage, it's not only just to sound good. You also have to, you know, get the people's attention and things. So there's a lot more than just standing and playing correctly, or, you know, try to sing correctly. For us, we just go crazy, you know. First the energy and the way you play it, you know, not the other way around.
What do you think it is that allows you to be more energetic now than 20 years ago? Like, do you have like a better lifestyle now, or you just done it so much that?
I mean, I don't know. It's a good workout, you know, 1.5 hours, maybe 1:45 sometimes. We paint 2 hours most of the times when we headline. Not on festivals, of course, but I don't know. You get in shape somehow. I always say before we go on tour, a couple of weeks before I'm going to go jogging or whatever, you know, to get your condition up. But it never happens. So on tour, the first day, you know, you get your ass kicked because you're going out too hard, you know, on the whole shit, because, you know, you play really rhythmic music with Pain, you know, so it's easy to get into it, and it's party music we do, you know. It's nothing else, and some of my thoughts connects with our fans' thoughts. So, you know, try to feed each other on energy all the time. They can kick your ass because you don't feel you're out until long afterwards when you start come back to life. You kind of then in
The
between
next
the
day.
song or something. Yeah. Next day will hurt too. Yeah. But I know how to stretch things nowadays, so I don't get it the next day. So it's better now. But I'm getting older, so you never know. Half a year in my age is more like 5 years in your age or 10 years. What can happen? It just goes fast when you get older, I think.
It does. It all speeds up. So are Pain fans is there crossover with Hypocrisy fans?
There are some Hippo fans in the crowd. Mainly, it's kind of funny, but we were on the last Pain tour now, October, November in Europe, and I was asking the crew and everybody, what kind of crowd is a Pain crowd? And we all started thinking, we couldn't figure it out. But at the end, we figured out something like the crowd is couples and girls and some Hypocrisy fans. I mean, there's girls in Hypocrisy fans as well. Don't get me wrong now.
Yeah, but
I mean, yeah, there's more couples and girls in Pain concerts than Hypocrisy. But we don't have these super diehard fans as we have in Hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Pain music is more shallow. It should be. It should be a part of music, and then maybe it's not so much to worship them in that way. You know what I mean?
It's a totally different kind of vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
I think. Yeah, I feel like if Hypocrisy is the kind of music that really speaks to you, maybe party music might not.
Exactly.
I mean, it depends. There's people with diverse tastes, but
yeah,
I feel like.
But of course,
party music is pretty far from extreme metal.
Yeah, but I'm doing 8 strings and stuff, and it's plenty of distortion everywhere, so it's a little bit more up tempo, more energy in this album for sure.
Yeah, I noticed it does get heavy. It does get pretty heavy at times.
Yeah.
Was it when you were building Pain up into its own entity and not just a side project? Was it? Were there any like tough years at first when Pain was unknown and people only knew you for Hypocrisy? So yeah, I imagine the connections you had were Hypocrisy based. Your fans were Hypocrisy based. Everything was Hypocrisy based. Was it difficult to establish something that's like nothing like Hypocrisy and that requires a whole different audience?
It was mainly from the beginning. This whole idea to start Pain was mainly just to write different kind of stuff than from Hypocrisy, because in Hypocrisy I didn't want to change our way of sounding and too much, so to speak, and so I had an urge of writing other kinds of music. I've been writing 3 albums with Hypocrisy. It felt like, okay, I have it under control a little bit. So then you want to explore something else. So I did a couple of Pink Floyd songs. I mean, not covers, but in that direction, because it was cool. It was fresh to do something else when you write. And then I discovered Goa trance music in the 90s, and they had so much distortion on the keyboards that really blew my mind. And I really loved it. And these songs could be 7-8 minutes long. It's like acid trips, and they have a lot of cool drop downs and stuff, and then it comes back up in maximum again. It's not like going to a rave party. It's less freaky, but that really kicked my ass. So I tried to start to make that kind of music, but my keyboards were shit. So I started adding guitars on top of it, and that's how Pain grew out from there.
I like that idea though of keeping hypocrisy pure to
Yeah,
what you see it as, rather than trying to have it be everything. Like, I
yeah,
feel like
exactly.
sometimes that's where metal bands go wrong, is instead of just doing a different project for those types of ideas. I
Yeah,
mean, look, free world, right? You can do whatever you want with your art, obviously,
yeah,
but as a fan of bands,
yeah,
I think of it as an artist, but also as a fan. I think about it when bands I love take a complete left turn. Sometimes I like it,
yeah,
sometimes I don't, but I really respect it when someone says, I want to keep this band pure.
yeah,
So that means I have to start another band.
yeah, exactly. And I remember at that time, a lot of people from different bands in the mid '90s started doing their own solo projects here and there, and they were kind of different and weird. And those who didn't, their bands kind of changed in the mid '90s from death metal to you name it. They went all
Mm-hmm.
different kind of ways. A lot of bands, and I didn't want to do that. That's why I had the need to start another band somehow, or just unload on something. That wasn't hypocrisy written.
You know what this reminds me of? I, I'm sure someone else has had to have said this, but Andrew WK and Obituary are.
Mm.
Are you familiar with that whole story?
No, I
So,
know of the
okay,
bands, of course,
I
or the
could be
guys.
complete. I could be completely wrong, but I don't think I'm
Yeah,
wrong. If I'm wrong, someone let me know. But I don't think I'm wrong. Um, Andrew WK's band in those
yeah,
days when he came out with his party music were
yeah.
Obituary,
Mm,
from
cool.
what I know, or like several people from Obituary,
Okay.
and it kind of went under the radar because the name of the band was the name of the vocalist.
Yeah.
So there was never any real press about its
Okay.
Obituary. It's Obituary's party band.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that that's what happened. And so
Mm,
this is not exactly the same, but it reminds me a little bit of it because of the style of music, that
mm,
similar kind of party music, and where there's this really serious other band,
yeah.
which is the other band. So it it would just be really weird if Obituary started making Andrew WK music.
Yeah. That would raise some eyebrows.
It might raise some eyebrows.
Yeah.
So when did you start playing eights?
Uh, well, I was lucky to get this Carpenter 8 string, this his custom from ESP in Japan. They sent over one, with his diploma in there and everything. It's really nice guitar, but it's so thick. It's insane. But I think I had it for 10 years, maybe. Here and there, I try to put in something, with it, and but I can't stand up and play. I have small fingers. It's huge. And if I have to play it standing up, it has to be right under my chin, you know, like because it's so thick.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed when I got one a couple of years ago, was this is a lot of size, and
Uh,
also just a lot of strings to keep up with. Like you
yeah,
looking at the fretboard, and it just starts to look like a huge grid. It's like
yeah,
easy to get lost in
yeah,
it at first.
yeah. I used it a lot on Yolin Turner album, the
Hmm.
latest one. Was a lot of mostly like one string picking stuff, on the fat one. And also, I was adding on top of that whatever I had from drop A could fit as low as, that's how I was thinking. And some song sounds really cool. You know, it almost sounds like a distorted bass at the end, you know, but it gives a really cool effect.
It's one of those things where the lowness, like the low string, it sounds so cool when you play it that it's easy to get carried away with overdoing it. At least it was for me when I first got it, just because it was like, wow, I've never felt a guitar feel and sound this powerful. It's a really, really cool feeling. But I think over time, then you start to figure out how to actually like use it like an instrument, or just bring it in when necessary.
I mean, you can make really amazing chords as well. I mean, you know, if you use the high strings, of course. But for that, usually I just bring in a Fender guitar, actually, Telecaster or something, if there's some picking and stuff, and then just add more fat on with the 8th string, and picking a couple of octaves lower.
So do you consider it more just like a studio tool?
Yeah, for me, definitely.
Yeah, it's pretty cumbersome to actually try to play.
But, yeah, I was so impressed of it. So I asked ESP to make me a baritone, these Eclipse, so I could tune it down to E. Sorry, E, the lowest string. And so I got it. So I used that on some Pain tours, because Call Me is in the 8th string from the beginning. So I used that guitar actually live. And what else? Yeah, I did it with Lindemann as well. There was 3 or 4 songs that also had the 8th string on. So I was using that Eclipse, the baritone Eclipse for that.
Do you ever have songs where it'll be in like a regular tuning with a regular amount of strings, and then there will be a part that's like an 8-string part, and then back to regular guitars, like basically bouncing around between guitar arrangements?
Yeah, done that. Been there, done that. For sure.
Yeah. Then figuring it out later is always fun, but it's such a great
I think I need a few of those things on Lindemann, and maybe some Joe stuff as well, and Pain. I'm not sure, but yeah, check it out. It's cool.
One of the things I've always really liked about your style is how layered your guitar parts are. Layers and layers and layers of just harmonies and voicings and octaves, and just in the interest of sounding huge, or just it's a great sound. Do you think ever in terms of theory, or are you just trying to make it sound a certain way that's in your head, or both?
Yeah, never thought about theory. It has to sound what I have in mind, I guess. I mean, do one, let's say one harmony is not hard, and then you do the second one, and all suddenly one is crashing with the other one, and then you have to rewrite everything again. And plus, you want to put an octave either high or low. It depends what kind of song it is, of course. And I think it's actually from Brian May from the beginning. He did always like 3-tone melodies, if you think about it. And there was also a Swedish band here in the 80s, early 80s. They also did this. And I don't know, I grew up with that. So that's how I was just building all the time. From a melody to make it more bigger, or whatever you want to, more feeling into it. If you add, Pint or Tesh or whatever. Depends which one is higher and things like that. So
And you always just did that by ear.
yeah.
See, I find that really interesting. Because I think lots of people feel like they need to know theory in order to be able to write harmonies and 3-part harmonies and things like that. And I don't think you do. I think you have to just know, you have to know what you're going for and have good taste, I think, and have an internal sense of which are good notes and which are bad notes for the part. Like if you hear something and it doesn't, and you don't know that it's wrong, theory might not help. Like I feel like you have to have it inside you. So like just,
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
when you hear a wrong note.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for me, it's just a alarm that goes off if I hear something weird. Like someone is playing a song in E and doing a solo in A scale. That's gonna be somewhere screwing up something, you know. But some people don't hear that. It's not everybody who can hear that. Oops, that was wrong. But because you know E and A is, you know, as we call related. So I mean, there's I think you have to trust your ears, and what sounds right to you is, I guess, right, because there's so many different ways. It can be in minor or a major scale, or you know, it's, you know, when you add one harmony, yeah, like I said, it depends how you add it. It can be a minor or a major, and then if you put another third on it, it's going to be hard to get out of whatever you decided in there, because you want to be flexible through the whole thing. Because sometimes on the second harmony you have to go a major, even if the melody goes in minor, to make them fit together. So you can't just go like deep, 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 deep. That doesn't work, you know.
No, I mean the parallel thing, it works in black metal, but like the parallel harmonies thing, it's like a very specific sound, and it can be cool, but it doesn't work all the time at all. Like you can't just do it parallel all the time.
Nope.
It, it the thing though, like when you said like someone's soloing in the wrong key or something like that, like when I hear stuff like that, or when people write harmonies and like there's just like really out of key notes, or like they're not going, one of the voices is not going to the right place. Like I always wonder, is that intentional? Are you hearing that? But
Some people don't hear
I
it.
know maybe they don't hear it, or some of these people know the theory. That's what's interesting. So I've met people who know the theory, yet they write this stuff where it's like all these weird notes. And so I wonder, like, is it a taste issue or what? Like I've always tried to figure this out. Like when I went to music school, this happened a lot where the teachers knew it, like knew the theory, like scholars, and then you'd hear the shit they wrote, and it's like, are you listening? Are you listening to this? This is really bad. These are some bad choices.
Well, there's many different ways of doing it, but you gotta follow your heart and your ears.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely. So, is that something you always did? Like you always have like just gravitated towards what you thought were the right notes or the wrong
Yeah,
notes, or away
yeah,
from
yeah,
those?
yeah, for sure. It started with my dad used to build like synthesizers and Moog machines in the 70s. And on there, you could sit, you know, and put one note down on the key, and then the other one. Okay, that doesn't work. Oh, that feels better, because everything it is just vibration. If you take the wrong one,
Mm-hmm.
they hit each other. And if you get something that's related, then they swing together much better, you know. And that's how you feel if it's like, oh, that sounds bad, because the vibrations collides a little bit, you know. It's and I guess that's at least how my ears works. If I hear something that's feels out of place, yeah, it starts going, oh shit, you know. So
Yeah, totally.
I don't know
So
if
you
it's
got you,
learning by doing. To correct it, yeah, is learning by doing. But I think you also have to have it in you. Like I said, there's some musicians I recorded that really should have been a painter or something instead. You know.
that's a good way to put it. Yeah, man, that's one thing I like. I really learned it the most while recording people,
Uh,
because you'd get dudes who practiced a lot. So like they'd come in and they like practiced all
uh,
their parts to a metronome, and they had like a practice routine, and very, very way more organized than me, and would go to
no,
track their solos or leads, and then they'd add harmonies, and like it'd be like really bad harmony choices. Like just like some of
no,
the notes would be okay, and then there'd just be sections where it's like not, here's the thing, it's not exactly out of key. Like on paper it would be, I guess you wouldn't fail the test on paper, but it would
okay,
just be like the wrong choice in context. Like
uh,
the energy of the music is taking it in one direction, the harmonies are going a certain way, and then these harmony notes they're adding, they like clash with the overall aesthetic. It's hard to explain, but it's like, how do you not hear this? And like
uh,
when I listen to the bands that like have influenced me over the years, like your band or like a band like Opeth or like a band like Muse or whatever, like bands that have like a lot of rich harmonic content, you never
uh,
ever hear that happening. Like you never hear those wrong notes. So I know I'm not inventing it, because in the music I listen to, it never happens. The bands I listen
yeah,
to never do that.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I wondered, like, yeah, is it built in from, like, do you get it as a kid, or it's like I've been trying to figure that out for a long time.
yeah. But I also argue a lot, like you should take this tone, and they say no, it should be this tone. I'm like, okay, it's your album, and so they, you know, music, everything is right. You know, it doesn't have to be like uh, Excel thing. You know, got to be
No,
flexible.
no, for
That's
sure.
all there is.
It,
Yeah,
sure. And there will be times where there's bands who do stuff where it isn't the right choice on paper, but it's the right choice for the music.
yeah,
Like a lot of black metal that I like is like that, where they will do the parallel stuff and it will be out of key, but
uh,
it's the right choice.
yeah,
And there's a lot of modern orchestral music, and there's it's like it doesn't have to be correct on paper. It's just more like a taste thing.
yeah.
Like why don't your ears tell you that's wrong? But that's something I was just always curious about with you, was like if it was something that you got as a kid, and it sounds like you did, because you've had like intense harmonies and melodies throughout your entire catalog. Like you've always done
Yeah,
that, and again,
yeah,
like I said, never heard a bad note on a single record. So I figured it
yeah,
had to be just on an instinct level.
yeah. I think so. It's like you. I mean, since bands before Hypocrisy and things, we did harmonies and stuff. It was more happy music. It was more old thrash metal kind of
Hmm.
stuff. 80s, not so brutal. And but we did harmonies and stuff then as well. And I don't know. I always like that. It brings something to it. It's like, okay, we don't have a keyboard player. Okay, let's do some harmonies instead. It makes it a little bit more extra. I don't know.
Yeah. So another thing I've noticed about your style, I wanted to ask you about was, along with the really, really good harmonies,
Yeah.
um, lots of metal, when people talk about it, they confuse harmony with melody. Like people will hear bands that just do like harmonized riffs where, you know, in thirds or something, and they'll say that's a melodic death metal band or melodic this, and it's like, it's not melodic. They're just harmonizing riffs. Like, I mean, it's more musical sounding sometimes, but not melodic. But you have actual melodies. So what I'm wondering is, do you think about the actual melody on its own, separate from riffs? Like, basically, like it can exist as just notes by itself, or like, where does the melodic side come for you?
Sometimes it's a problem fixer. Put it that way. If I have let's say a C part after a second chorus or something where something has to happen, and you have the riff, but you don't have no lyrics. So you go like, okay, what's going to take longer? Need to figure out to do a melody on top of this or writing lyrics? Well, it's going to go faster to do the melody. So I do that. And then I add an harmony on it, and sometimes another harmony, and then an octave, and then try to mix them nice together. That's like, and sometimes you have the melody, and you build from there. You have no clue how the bass is gonna go in the bottom, you know, because it doesn't have to go exactly like the melody sounds like. You can always do really weird these break chords that's really wide, you know. But so I mean, when you have the melody, you start going for bass tones just to find where you're going to land the riffs that you're going to play on it. And you still don't know if it's going to be open chord or if you're going to be chugging or picking or whatever. So that's really exciting, and this is one of the parts I really love to write music, because, for instance, you come up with a melody and then you add things and you see how it grows, and it becomes something, you know. It's like, damn, this is cool. You add shit on top and you're just really excited. And then you go, oh shit, this was only 10 seconds in the song. Okay, what comes next? So you have to sit for a while and listen to it on loop, kind of, you know, to see where is this take me now? Is this an intro or is it a chorus in the middle of the song? Should we think forward or backwards? And then you start thinking, and then eventually I see where it goes in there before I do it. So that is the passion of writing music for me, and
so
creating
the melody. Do you write it on guitar? Do you sing it, or is it in your head, like in that initial state?
Yeah, no. Most of the time, everything I write, riffing or melodies or whatever, keyboard things, are 95% comes from my head first. I mean, I got it in my mind. So the other 5%, it can happen by me sitting with a guitar or a keyboard, or maybe 2%.
Okay, so
yeah,
the melody will pop up the way, however it decides to present itself, and then what? You like record it like immediately?
Yeah, or sometimes I actually write everything around it as well in my head. You know, I can picture it, I would say, but hear it, of course. How you, when you add things on, like the bass tone should be on this, okay, it should be a B there, and then blah, 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 G. Okay. So then I know, and I go in and I try it, and then I sit for a while. Maybe I change this tone to a really not so expected tone, so to put it. And that gives it a little bit color as well.
How often is the, I guess, so, you know, I'm sure you've experienced this as a mixer where someone will come in and they'll have a fantasy of what it should sound like, but the reality is that their music and the amount of time and just the elements they have in the arrangement don't equal whatever their fantasy is. Because it is just a fantasy at that point. It's like the endless creation power of your brain within itself, outside of the physical world. So I'm wondering, how often is like what you come up in that realm, does it translate exactly when you go to actually put it down, like, oh wow, that's exactly what I was thinking it was going to be?
Well, I believe it's good to aim high. You know, if you come halfway, good. So I mean, I think you just. I rarely had any band that come into the studio and say, "Hey, I would like to have it sound like this band." It never really happened that often. It was more we would try to figure out drum sound together and then the guitar sound together.
But I
and,
mean, in a writing, with writing, like when you're writing melodies and then you start arranging like bass note here, that chord there, and you have it all in your head, and then you go to put it down. How often is it like exactly the way you imagined it versus maybe it's still cool, but it's not exactly what you imagined?
Yeah, that's a 50-50, I would say.
That's a good ratio.
Sometimes you have to you go like, yeah, it sounds okay, but it sounds typical. Let's make it more weird or strange. So you really just start trying to look where it fits so it doesn't sound stupid, but you know that it really changes the road you're driving. It just all suddenly go that way instead, you know, which I think is really interesting. Even though
reality,
I mean, it can't be totally out of space and stupid, but it has to sound good. I mean, it has to be like wow thing, I believe.
Well, reality is going to like tell you, I think, like once I feel like once it enters the physical world, like you recorded it and you can actually hear it, it'll tell you where it needs to go. So I think sometimes where we imagine it in our heads, it's like, you know, it's like trying to remember a dream. Like you can kind of remember details, but never the full picture, and because it doesn't really exist in the physical world. So I think that it's perfectly okay if like you go to get an idea and it goes completely different than what you had in mind. Maybe that's better. Who knows?
That happened also many times that it didn't really turn out the way I wanted it to turn out, but still it became good, but in a different way. You know what I mean? It's still good, but it wasn't really what I had in mind. So, and when it doesn't turn as good as I want, then I work on it till it gets good. Instead of throwing it away, I start changing a lot of things until I'm happy. And it's only me who's the judge when I sit and do all these different tones and things. You know, if it passes me, then I don't care. But it's hard to pass me first. Yeah.
Fair enough. How often do you trash things? Like, like how often do you just delete something or just say not using it?
I could probably count that on one hand. That you just put it aside and said, I can't make it good enough, or you know, it doesn't make sense, this song, and that happens. But in the end, 10, 15 years later, there's always someone who needs a song, and then you present the idea, and then you kind of finish it. Kind of strange. I really don't delete anything.
So even 15 years later, you'll find stuff in your archive that works for something.
Yeah, sometimes. And sometimes I find crap as well that it will never work.
Yeah. So anyway. I guess when you're writing a Hypocrisy album, I guess I'm trying to compare it to like what I know about how I work. So for the latest Doth album, started 40 songs, but the album is 9 songs. But I think when I say that to people, they think, "Oh, you wrote 40 songs." No, we didn't write 40 songs. Started 40 ideas, but very quickly realized which ones are worth pursuing. There's no finished songs that didn't make it to the album. Like every song that was actually completed made it to the album. We just decided very quickly what to not finish, or maybe it could be cool, but it's just not quite there.
Yeah.
Maybe another day.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Same thing if you have one song or two songs left over for the album, I mean, done. And so you have to choose these two songs. Which one are the shittiest in the collection, so to say. And so many times, my guesses has always been wrong. So I never do that anymore. I just let, someone else choose. Okay, these are the 11 best songs you have. So these two we use as bonus or, I don't know, whatever, kind of things. Because sometimes when you write yourself, on some songs, you can't be sure if it's good or bad. And the other ones, you know for sure. So you definitely don't need any help with that. But you present all the songs and say, pick 11 out of 13 or out of 12 or whatever.
So so you do have the feeling that of pure confidence with some of them. Like this is definitely going on the album.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Man, I hate that about the extra songs. We didn't do that this time, but we've done it on other records where, there's song that goes to Japan or whatever, always the two extra songs. And then I'm sure this has happened to you too, where your fans who are not from that territory somehow find the song and it becomes one of their favorites or something like that. Or it got me rethinking everything, because it's how much potential is left on the table by not letting all your fans hear a certain song. It's happened enough times now to where I don't know how I feel anymore about a song just for a territory, because how do you pick what your fans don't get?
Well, we usually don't pick, because in the end, nowadays, you find it anyhow. It's on Spotify or whatever digital platforms you choose, So today, it's not that important anymore, I guess. Of course, with the vinyls maybe, or even cassettes nowadays, could be fun to have something extra on, but other than that's gone nowadays. I remember also we had to write one or two songs extra for Japanese bonuses to get released over there, and it was always with all the bands up. So I don't think I didn't hear about it in a worship album. It was already gone, this idea with this extra for Japan or other countries. So nowadays, you try to write, but have one as a reserve, kind of. And then usually it comes on the next album if nothing happens, or we do a standalone, just a digital release or a 7-inch. You just have to come up with good ideas.
Yeah. How long does it take you to write?
Depends what kind of mood I'm in. If I'm in a good mood, it goes faster. If I feel stressed for something else, then it takes longer. Because there's always something. If you have two bands, and in the past I had 3 bands, both making albums, touring and shit. So doing videos, and that was tough. That's why it took 8 years in between Pain albums and Hypocrisy albums. In between, there was 2 Lindemann and Jolin Turner album and things like that. So, and a handful of recording bands. So,
I mean,
time flies when you have
cool
fun.
to never stop. It's cool to never stop making music, though.
Yeah, but you have to find this peace of mind when I do it. I can't feel bad or anything. Some people say, "Oh, I need to feel like shit to write," and I never could.
I don't understand that at all.
But everybody has their way. no way is the right way. So
No, but like you said, I have to feel good to write. It's
yeah,
if I'm feeling depressed or stressed, like
yeah,
I can't really. It's really hard to wake up that that to get the light to come on.
yeah, because you focus on everything that's bad. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I do the same thing.
So so is it something where um are you able, have you figured out a way to do it when you're in that state of mind, like to change your state, or have you just learned that just not to do it when you're in that state and come back when you are in a better state?
No, I think it's more like when you're in a better state that then melodies and riffs comes to you, kind of. When you're going walking around being pissed or stressed about things that needs to be done and things like that, then it's harder to get anything coming to your mind except trying to fix everything that stresses you.
Yeah. So fix the things that stress you. That's the moral of the story.
Yeah, it's easy to say, but
I
try to
know.
do it.
So that's why I'm
Sometimes
laughing.
you feel, yeah, but let's, it's the motto.
Yeah,
Try to
man,
follow.
I just don't understand how people say they write when they're depressed or something. It doesn't compute for me because
Yeah, maybe
the
it's
feeling of
therapy.
depression,
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe it's therapy. A lot of people. I mean, I ventilate a lot when I write music, so also lyrics. So it's a therapy as well somehow.
For sure, but I think that those feelings that are expressed in music they're deeper than an emotion, right? Like an emotion is kind
Yeah,
of is how you're feeling right now in the moment. Like you're pissed off, like someone
yeah,
uh cut you off, or like the computer crashed 3 times, or I have a million things to do, or some
yeah,
conversation with a family member. They said the one thing, and now I'm like still thinking about it or something. But those,
yeah,
I feel like those are not the emotions that really lead to that deeper expression. That deeper expression is more the, obviously it's all personal, so like it's different for everybody. But I feel like when people are expressing things in music, like it's usually like deeper things that are always there, like this feeling, or this feeling that's like been there since they were a
yeah,
kid, or like it's just always under the surface, which is why they need to get it out. It's not so much like an in the moment emotion, which is why I have a hard time with writing when depressed, because depression is very much an in the moment, like right now I don't
yeah,
have the energy to do anything, so how am I going to write? That's as opposed to expressing like this darkness that's been like clouding my life since I was 5 or something. It's
uh,
two different. I see it as two different things, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's so personal. Everything when you write music for any writer, however they are, that's what comes out of their hands or mouths or feet.
Hmm. Yeah, it's always fascinating to me to hear how other people think about it, because
Yeah,
when I hear that like they have to be feeling a certain way, like in the moment, like I'm pissed
uh,
off, so I'm gonna write a pissed off song.
yeah,
That's just interesting to me, because when I'm pissed off, I don't want to write. So like are they how do they channel that into actually doing something productive?
yeah. I mean, if I'm pissed, I shouldn't hold the guitar because the strings will fly because I will hit them fuckers so hard you won't believe it if I'm really in a
Exactly.
pissy mood. So that makes no sense at all. I can't write then. Not even punk.
Exactly. So it sounds to me like you have to be like in a good spot in order to make
Uh,
music, like in a good, like mentally like productive, healthy spot. And then
yeah,
whatever it is in your psychology that made you choose metal and made you choose
yeah,
music, that being in that calm spot allows it to come out.
yeah, yeah.
All right,
Some
I'll send
people
you. I'll
can,
send you the invoice for the therapy bill.
yeah, exactly. But I mean, yeah, it is. It's a huge thing, music, tones, because it brings so much feeling in all kinds of ways. So when you write them, for me to make a really sad feelings, I need to feel really good. How weird is that?
Yeah,
You know?
it makes sense because because it's work, right? Like you have to do. If you're actually feeling really sad at the moment, how are you gonna like focus?
Yeah, you can't. Not me. I'm sure there's people
Me
that can
either.
do a lot of things, but yeah.
Or the actor Bradley Cooper.
Uh,
He played Leonard Bernstein, the conductor, in a movie. I didn't see the movie, but I saw a quote where paraphrasing the quote, but he said something about like acting is work, something along those lines. Like it's just a job. Like
okay.
I'm doing whatever people tell me to say or whatever, but I wanted to do this because music is nuclear.
Okay.
Which I like the way he put it. Music is nuclear, which it
Yeah,
is.
definitely.
Yeah,
Uncontrollable. Well, you can control it. That's what I mean by you can control your feelings with it. Kind of.
yeah.
But
It's an interesting, fascinating thing. So we're just
yeah.
about out of time, man.
All right,
So
bro.
I just want to wish you luck with the new Pain album.
Thank
Definitely,
you, man.
when I do the intro, going to talk all about it and make sure
Cool.
everybody knows about it. But
Yeah.
I listened to what I was able to listen to and was like, man, this is like good time stuff. It's cool. It's
What
cool
you
being
couldn't hear the whole thing, or you just got it?
no in the press. What I was sent
Mhm.
was some links to singles and music videos and stuff, and I saw the Fear and Loathing
Ah, so you hadn't
music
heard the
video.
whole album?
No,
Oh, there's a lot of heavy stuff too, fast stuff. I
but
mean,
I'm familiar with with some of the catalog though, so I know there's metal
yeah,
in there.
yeah. Well, it's soon out anyhow. So,
Yeah. Well, good luck with it. I hope it goes great,
thank you,
man,
man.
and have a great rest of your day, evening.
Yeah, you too, man. Have a good one. I'll hope to see you on the road. Bye bye.
Yeah, I hope so too. Take it
Yeah.
easy.